Any other guests? Okay, well, it's great to have all of you here. This is the first meeting of the month of December, so we get to celebrate birthdays, and Val Ruff is going to do the honors today.
I am. I'm not going to sing, though. Linda said I didn't have to sing. I just had to say the names. So we'll start with Sharon Greer has a birthday. Theron Schutte, happy birthday, Theron. Jerry Stevens, Ruth McCoy, Robert Thomas, Deirdre Brindler, Terry Leeper, Mike Schlesinger, Rhonda Miller, Christy Fisher, and Leon Lamer. So happy birthday to all the Rotarians.
Happy birthday. And thank you, Val. And I'm going to do the honors regarding celebrating our Rotary membership anniversaries. We have 7 people to celebrate today. First, I'd like to mention Dan McEnroy. He's a new member and was unable to join us today, but he is celebrating his first year of membership. Also, Phyllis Mazur. I know she was going to try to join us. I haven't noticed if she's here yet. Phyllis, are you here?
I am, Mary.
Hey, great. Well, Phyllis, we want to congratulate you on 20 years of membership in our Rotary Club. That's a wonderful accomplishment, and we're glad you're a member.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jim Heddens, also, I did not hear back from him whether he's going to be able to join us, but he is celebrating 21 years. So Jim, I don't know, are you here? Maybe not. Okay, Theron has been a member of Rotary Club in several communities, and at least for 24 years. He says that it's really 25 years. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say congratulations and thanks for 25 great years of membership in many communities. It's great to have you, be active in the club, Theron. And next is Mary Dooley, and Mary is celebrating 29 years of membership in our club. Are you on, Mary? Yep, I visited her with this morning. I know she was going to try. Okay. And then next up is Bob McGregor. Bob, you've been a member for 32 years. So congratulations, Bob. And I know you're on, right?
That's amazing.
Yep, there he is. Okay, Bob. And finally, Vic Helberg is celebrating 45 years this year of membership in Rotary Club. So Vic, are you on? Listen, wait. Okay, everybody, let's give them a round of applause or a thumbs up. It's a great group, and we do appreciate people that who have stayed members faithfully for so many years. It's great to have you. In the way of announcements, our attendance at our last meeting was 33 people. And I also wanted to make sure that the club members know that Dennis Drager has thrown his hat into the ring to be a candidate for the District 6000 governor in the year 2023-24. And he participated in an interview and was selected as the nominee designee. So we're proud of him and excited that he's going to continue his leadership in the club at a bigger area. And I agree with Bonnie. Let's give him a round of applause. Great. I also wanted to make a special welcome to new members, Ruth McCoy and Julie Hitchens, who have completed the requirements, and we just have not had a chance to install them yet. We're thinking about doing that after the first of the year and keeping our fingers crossed we might actually be meeting in person sometime soon. So Julie and Ruth, we're very glad to have you as members of our club as well. Okay, those are the announcements I know about. Are there any others? Okay, we are actually ready for happy news, and Theron shared some on the chat box, I know. Congratulations to Theron on his anniversary. Would you like to say more?
Well, I agree with the comments that I married up. Yeah, 38 years and going. So this day of age, that's probably an accomplishment.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations. Any other happy news?
I'd like to give a shout out for our
I'm happy that Hy-Vee has selected the Friends of the Marshalltown Library for their December Red Heart bag. So if you are in Hy-Vee, please think about buying the bag, and $1 goes to the Friends. And want to thank Hy-Vee and all of our businesses in our community for supporting the library. So we're happy about that.
Great, Sarah. We'll do that. And Rick, I know you were ready to say something and your volume wasn't very loud.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
Okay. I want to give a shout out to Shop with the Cop. They did the first Stuff with the Holster on Saturday and raised just under $2,000.
Wow. That is great.
This is Amanda, and I'm happy the kids are both back in school today.
Yeah, and I'll echo that. I'm also happy our staff are back in school because we had around 20% of our total employee base of 900 people out prior to the remote learning. So we're in a much better place as of today, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed to make sure that continues to be the case. But I suspect things will ramp up a little bit anyway as we approach the end of the week, finding out what effect Thanksgiving had on things.
Well, Mary, I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that we should all be happy that Iowa had such a good weekend, particularly the Cyclones, but also the Hawkeyes for both football and basketball. So
Absolutely.
Hey, this is Mike Tupper. I'm happy to be back at work for the first time in 18 days, being out with COVID. That was not any fun. Avoid it if you can. I strongly encourage you to do that. And I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for their support of the Shop with the Cop program. I know that they've got off to a great start and with their fundraising, and we really appreciate everything that this club has done to support that. So thank you.
Mary, I see that Vic Helberg is on now. I didn't know if you wanted to just once again mention it's his anniversary, and I didn't catch how many years.
Great. Hey, Vic, just wanted to let you know we've been counting, and this marks your 45th year of membership in Rotary Club. So we're glad you joined us so that you could celebrate here this month with us. Okay, and Mike, we're glad you survived COVID. Yep. Any other happy news? My happy news is that the landscaper is here fixing the grade on my patio outside, and I'm expecting the flooring guy to show up this afternoon to put new flooring in the sunroom. So I'm going to be really happy tomorrow, I hope. Somebody else had something.
This is Vic. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Vic. Yep.
Okay, I'm learning how to do all of this, and I didn't know where the button was, and now I found it. But thank you for the recognition.
You're most welcome. Okay, well, Bob Moore is going to introduce our program today. Bob?
All right. Thank you very much, President Giese. And it is indeed my pleasure to introduce our speaker today. I've come to know Jude as a colleague and a friend since we met, and he'll talk about how he first came to Marshalltown and became connected with several people here. But let me give you a quick bio. Honestly, I have edited this down a great deal, but still, it's so important, and I think what I want to say relates to what Jude will be talking about today. So let me start. Jude Rawlins is a British-Irish filmmaker, artist, musician. He's based in New York and Iowa now, but he was born in Birmingham, England in 1972. I guess it was okay to say that. That's what you had in your bio, Jude. Musically, he is perhaps best known as the lead singer, guitarist, and principal songwriter of the band Subterraneans, which he formed in London. He also formed the Lenny Lovitch Band and toured as a guitarist and manager with the band until 2019, when he decided to give up his studio in London and move full-time to the US in order to pursue his filmmaking. As a filmmaker, Jude conceived, shot, and edited the much acclaimed experimental film Albion Rising in 2009, which starred the late Dudley Sutton and Hollywood and TV actress Juliet Landau. The film premiered by being projected on the east side of the Berlin Wall on the 20th anniversary of the opening of Checkpoint Charlie, the event, of course, that triggered the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe. By the way, parenthetically, if you are a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, you may know Juliet Landau from her role as Drusilla on that show. His second feature-length film was Songs of Alchemy, an adaptation of the opera based on an angelic conversation of Elizabeth I astrologer and alchemist John Dee. His 2016 short film, The Divine Image, won the Ken Russell Award at the world's largest arts festival, the Edinburgh Fringe, and was also named a semi-finalist at the Los Angeles Cinefest. In 2017, he began work on a radical adaptation of the Faust legend. However, most importantly for us, in 2017, he also wrote the screenplay for Little Johnny Jewel, set in Marshalltown, Iowa, and Jude's going to be discussing that in his remarks today. Jude is currently working on pre-production of Johnny Jewel, which will reunite him with Juliet Landau, as well as editing another film, Red, his long gestating tribute to friend and mentor Derek Jarman. That film stars Georgia McKenzie and Julian Firth, names that you may know. He is also developing a historical drama set in Marshalltown in 1926. By the way, he's looking for a Model A in the late 20s. Anybody have one? Get in touch with us. That film is called The Secret Life of Wanda Hasty. It is also set to star Georgia McKenzie, which he describes as the film as kind of a Death in Venice meets Pocahontas tale. I've seen a couple of clips. Cool, cool movie. He is also working on a Hitchcockian psychological thriller called Mania. Jude is an alumni of the Werner Herzog, and anytime you'd like to spend about an hour talking with Jude, just asking him about Werner Herzog. That film school conducted by Herzog was where he went to school as alum, and was taught screenwriting at that time also by Andrew Birkin. As a music producer, musician, and sound engineer, his resume is vast and includes work with Angie Bowie, Bjork, Madonna, Dot Allison, Billy McKenzie, and many, many others. He has worked at some of the most prestigious recording studios in the world, including Abbey Road in London and Hansa in Berlin. He designed, built, and co-owned Monochrome Studios, which at that time was London's largest multi-purpose sound, film, and art studio. His father, in Jude's words, is a, quote, keen playwright, poet, and photographer. His father gave Jude his first 35mm camera for his ninth birthday, and setting off a long career, as we know. His late mother was a professional seamstress in London during the 60s and designed outfits for the artist Pauline Botti. Jude is married to writer, musician, and pop culture critic Dahlia Schweitzer, with whom he frequently collaborates. Dahlia is professor of film and media at the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan. Here, I am proud to say, is my friend Jude Rawlins.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to make this presentation. I was going to start off by telling you who I am, but Bob's done a better job of that than I think I ever could. So As you can tell from my accent, I'm not from around here, but I'll try to speak slowly. I have had a lot of coffee this morning, so please bear with me. Okay, I first heard of Marshalltown because it was the birthplace of the movie actress Jean Seberg. Seberg was arguably the most important American ever to work in European cinema. Her performance in the movie Breathless, which is very much the Citizen Kane of independent cinema, with that she revolutionized the art of screen acting, probably more than anyone since Mary Pickford, who had invented the art of screen acting in the first place. And although she only achieved a modicum of success in Hollywood, around the world, Jean Seberg is iconic. I've been a fan of her work since discovering her in my teens. So in 2001, it was a great privilege for me to be invited to become involved in the campaign to save the Orpheum Theatre, which had played a very important role in Jean's life while she was growing up in Marshalltown. It was the place where she saw the movies that inspired her to become an actress in the first place. So without it, she might never have become the talent that she did. And the films that she made, which in turn have inspired a whole generation of filmmakers in America, particularly in the 70s, wouldn't have existed. When I was invited to Marshalltown in 2011 by the then director of the Orpheum, Pip Gordon, to be a keynote speaker at the first Jean Seberg International Film Festival, I thought I was coming here to give something back to Jean's legacy that had inspired, so many generations of artists, including my own generation. I didn't expect to fall in love with Marshalltown, and I had no idea that what I was going to find here was a whole new source of inspiration and some of the most generous, thoughtful, kind and genuine and actually entertaining people that I've ever met. I came here for the festival in 2017, as Bob mentioned, and it suddenly struck me like a bolt of lightning, actually, that Marshalltown would be the perfect setting for a film idea that I'd been hatching at that time. The locations were all there. The lights is perfect. The humor of the people is irresistible to me. So I set to work on developing it. And my original plan was to shoot the film here, but to do all of the pre-production and post-production at my studio in London. Thankfully, I can say that now, circumstances conspired against that. And in the course of my work on other projects, it became clear to me that I didn't enjoy working in the film industry in London, and nor was I cut out to pursue a career in the Hollywood mainstream, having had one dealing with a major Hollywood studio. I just realized that I didn't want to do that. I've always worked independently, and I very much enjoy doing so. So I began to entertain the possibility of starting all over again in Marshalltown, because I realized it would give me the freedom to create my own infrastructure and develop my own working methods, kind of away from any of the established film industry. And I also had no doubt at all that I would find the talent and support that I needed here, both because of the amazing people that I've met here over the years, but also because this is the town that gave the world Jean Seberg anyway. So, and within moments of actually having that idea in 2017, I was introduced to Liz Gilman, who is the head of Produce Iowa, the State Film Commission in Des Moines, and she immediately promised to help me in any way she could. She was just terribly excited at the prospect of being able to work on a project that wasn't another documentary about John Wayne. Also, the Times Republican took an interest and ran a story about the project, which resulted in me receiving many inquiries from Iowa-based acting and filmmaking talents, many of whom I have been able to find a place for and wound up working with. So I'm very grateful to them for that. The first step then was to set up an entirely new production company here in Marshalltown with a local board of directors who would be able to help me find the support that I needed. We set up a new company called Bella Luna Productions, And through the generosity of John Blaburn, who many of you may know is the owner of Wax Ecstatic Records, we found a premises where we could create our new production office and studio. We're in the basement. This is it. We're in the basement of the former Apgar Photography Studios on Main Street. And you can imagine my personal excitement when I discovered that the room in which we're building the new studio was the very same room in which Jean Seberg posed for her 1956 high school yearbook photograph. So it feels in some small way like we're bringing some of her legacy back home, which is quite an honor, actually, speaking as a longtime fan of hers. In the true spirit of independent filmmaking, we began raising the money to make the film by selling shares in the film's potential profits to individuals interested in supporting the project. And what I would consider our new Marshalltown adventure. The film, which, as Bob mentioned, is called Little Johnny Jewel, is budgeted at $100,000, of which we have now raised about half. What we've done, we've used that money to equip the studio with everything we need to make the film. And in doing so, we have, in fact, created an infrastructure that enables us to make more films at a much lower cost because we now have the facilities to do so. So we're already developing plans for our next two movies, both of which Bob mentioned. One of those would involve a close collaboration with the Historical Society and the Marshalltown Community Theatre. And also in recent months, we've begun to develop relationships with many local organisations, including the Arts and Cultural Alliance, who are helping us with our marketing strategies, and the 13th Street District, where we're hoping to shoot one of the more complex but fun sequences for the movie. And also Marshalltown Community College, where last year I was invited to speak to film students and share my experience with them, which was a hugely rewarding thing. And again, a very honorable thing to be asked to do. In developing the film, we've built relationships with the Meskwaki and other towns in Iowa, such as Union, where we were able to borrow local emergency vehicles and shoot on location, which was a lot of fun. And we're always open to in-kind contributions as well as financial support. Anyone who has any leads on empty houses, vintage vehicles, please let us know. Also insurance. I did spot that Phyllis is in here and I'd like to say thank you, Phyllis, for all of your efforts in that regard. And as Bob mentioned, my film tutor was Werner Herzog, who is a legendary German filmmaker. He drummed into me the importance of giving everybody a fair shot, because casting is 90% of getting a movie right. So I really sincerely want to meet everybody who has even the vaguest interest in what we're doing. We have a fiscal sponsor, the Des Moines Film Society, through which anyone wishing to invest in our projects has the opportunity to do so with the tax advantage of their 501c3 status. At the state level, Bella Luna Productions is also now a member of the Iowa Motion Picture Association. And at a national level, we're members of Film Independent, which is the Hollywood-based organization for independent cinema. We have a sales agent in London whose job it will be to find international distribution for the finished films. They are a company called Independent, owned by the son of a legendary English filmmaker, Nick Rogue, his son Luke. They've done a lot of work with British filmmakers making films in America. That's sort of their kind of angle at the moment. So what we basically have to do there is just deliver them a finished product, and they'll see where they can sell it, which could be, syndication or theatrical or film festivals, So currently we don't receive any funding at all other than private investors. our investors are generally individuals with a couple of $1,000s to spare who think it might be fun to invest in the movie, or who believe, as we do, what we're doing is positive for Marshalltown and Iowa in general. So our current goal is to raise the remainder of the money for Little Johnny Jewel. But additionally, we now have the medium to long-term goal of securing funding for the next 2 projects. The biggest dilemma for independent filmmakers, both in America and internationally, has always been that, unlike the major Hollywood studios who have their own sources of funding, for independent filmmakers, each time you start a new project, it's necessary to start from scratch, basically, reinventing the wheel, spending large amounts of time, sometimes years, trying to raise the funds. But in our case, because we have created an infrastructure here in Marshalltown, this is a problem that we have the opportunity to overcome. One of the ideas that we're working on is that if we're able to find, say, 10 sponsors wanting to pitch in $5,000 a year for 3 years, that would pretty much give us the funding that we need to complete the first 3 movies. And this would mean that we'd be in quite a rare position, because we'd be able to capitalize upon the momentum that each one would give us, instead of losing the momentum because of the time it takes to start over each time. And now that we have the studio and the facilities we need, it's absolutely possible, I think, for us to write a new chapter in the sort of Iowa legacy, and all we really need to do that is, enough people to support that vision. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them to the best of my ability. And thank you once again for your time. I'm going to post a link to a web page which gives you a short rundown of the projects that we're working on. And within each of those, there's a link to a more detailed breakdown of each project. And at the top, there's also a little video that I've made just for you guys, which is a 4-minute long sort of just history of Iowa in the movies, basically. So I hope that you have a chance to look at that at some point. I'll post that in the chat here. So, and if I get it wrong, maybe Bob can pass it on to you. So, yeah, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
It looks like your link popped up just fine there, Jude. So if everybody would like to, anyone who wants to can go to the chat line, and you could probably even copy that link if you want and paste it into a Word document or something.
I'm not seeing the link. Did it just go to you, Bob? Oh, there it came up. Okay.
It went to everyone.
Yep.
Jude, I know the studio is not quite ready to go. I know that because Linda and I are helping with the some of the decorations and repairs and so forth. But I think it's okay to say that if somebody wanted to come and visit with you in the studio, properly masked and socially distanced, they could take a look at what's developing in the basement of the Apgar Theater, or the studio.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're here. We're next door to the Tremont. You know where we are. Come and say hello. I'm here basically all of the time. So
I'd be interested in a synopsis of Little Johnny Jewel. Tell me more about the plot line or the story.
Okay, well, the story is. I describe it as it's really a story about second chances. What happens in the story is that there's a 40-something man called Johnny who is returning home to Marshalltown, where his estranged parents live, and unfortunately, a terrible incident befalls him on the way home, and he winds up badly injured and in a wheelchair, and his elderly parents have to become his parents again and kind of take care of him. And in doing so, they realize that they maybe could have done a better job the first time around. And So they realized that they were always very good at putting food on the table and taking care of his, basic needs, but they didn't necessarily know him as well as they might have done. So they enlist the help of his former sweetheart, who now runs a local diner, which will be using doodahs for the location of that, and that part is the one that Juliet will play. And yeah, so and between them, they sort of they're trying to help him and help each other, but also there's the mystery of why he was coming home as well, and also and as well as the what happened to him, who was responsible for it, so there's kind of several layers to it, and it's a comedy as well, because when you're dealing with difficult subjects such as disability and family dynamics, one of the best ways I feel to explore that is with a lot of humor, so that it doesn't get too dark. Basically, it's very, and that's one of the reasons why Marshalltown was so perfect for it, because I know that the people here are incredibly generous, and with just generous in spirit and in every other way. I can remember going into the Jiffy store, the gas station, and they had a jar on the counter, which was just basically for people to throw loose change into to help someone out, and it just really, really sort of struck me that that's not something you see everywhere. It's a very Iowa thing, and I was kind of very moved by that, and thought that was really the sort of thing that I wanted to explore. And I also feel like Iowa, the Midwest in general, is not particularly well represented in movies. I mean, there was famous cases of really great films that were set here, like What's Eating Gilbert Grape, but they actually shot it in Texas because they couldn't really be bothered to do the shoot in Iowa. And I just feel like it needs, I would like to show the world Iowa through my lens, which is not just the stunning scenery and the great light, but the people, really. And so what I've kind of got is an exaggerated version of that, done in good humor. And we have some real comedy moments in the film, one of the ones that I'm particularly proud of, which was inspired by a conversation I had with Nancy Adams, is the everyone will know the Liberty Tax guy, the guy who dresses up and has the big hand pointing to the Liberty Tax office. And we just had this idea for a scene where he's standing out on the street and the guy from the store comes out and points out to him that it's a one-way street going the other way. So we have visual gags like that, which to me say a lot about Marshalltown, and just it's hopefully it's going to be a fun film. It has a couple of twists in it, one of which is slightly Shakespearean. We've borrowed a little thing from Macbeth that we've thrown in there, and also there's a trick ending as well, and you think it's going to go one way and it suddenly goes another. So
thank you. That's very engaging.
right. Anything else? Any questions?
Well, I, for one, am excited to learn more about what you're doing and wish you the best. And we'll look forward to following your progress. So thank you for speaking to us today. And thanks to Bob for lining you up. It's great to have you a part of Marshalltown. And it's nice to hear good things about ourselves. So
thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yes.
And Mary, I will certainly pass along continued information about the production company and the movie as Jude progresses and releases it.
Great. We'll look forward to that. Okay, our program next week will feature Michelle Roseborough from the Marshall County Historical Society. So we'll look forward to seeing everyone back here next Tuesday. And if you would now join me in reciting the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are now adjourned. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, Mary.
Oh, I need to tell you, what a good job he did. I really